nice to see you.
So nice to see you.
Thanks for meeting with us. The beautiful Fisher Building.
Yes.
Yes, it's so lovely here.
Love it.
Truly one of the most beautiful places, I think, in all of Detroit.
I agree.
So you grew up coming here as a kid, spending a lot of time in Detroit with your family, right?
I did. Yeah, my parents loved, they met in the city, they lived in the city, and when we started moving north a bit, as you know, we grew up, we still spent weekend time down in Detroit. This is where we came to shop. It's where we came for theater. It's where we came for wonderful dinners and a lot of great memories of Detroit.
Yeah. Well, and I love it here. I think I might have to come back and do a little shopping.
Yeah, I know. I think I could just go shopping now. Yeah.
Oh, it's just so lovely. You are Executive Vice President and Chief Human Resources Officer for Henry Ford Health, and we are here in the beautiful Fisher Building, which is clearly stunning. But it's also a little bit loud down there, so apologies ahead of time if we have a little natural sound here while we have our conversation.
No worry.
Tell me what your job is. What does that job entail? What's your day-to-day like?
Oh, wow. The Human Resources Division is really responsible for all the people practices of the organization. The way in which we greet you from the very beginning, from the first phone call. And then, ultimately living into your role, going through development, coaching with your leaders, and seeking career advancement along the way. And we're responsible for really setting the practices through the whole life cycle.
Wow. You must find it fulfilling.
I love it. Yeah. It's truly work I felt meant to do.
How did you find yourself in this realm?
So many of the choices we make about our careers have to do with our formative life, what we experienced when we were young. And my parents were both first-generation Americans, and so I have a rich cultural heritage, and really was fascinated by what my grandparents went through to get here, through the work practices that maybe they were engaged in the countries that they came from, and how that translated to the United States. So at the age of 12, my absolute favorite section of the newspaper was what was called then the Help Wanted section.
The classifieds.
Yeah, like what 12-year-old reads that, My father and mother were just, astounded at that. And the thick paper would come on Sundays. And I didn't ask for the comics first. I needed that section right away.
What were you looking for in there?
I was fascinated by the different jobs. And that is something that just stood with me through the years. I really loved knowing about the jobs and all the communities we'd visit. And so when I went to graduate from high school, and there was a human resources program, and I read what human resources people do, I thought this was made for me. This is perfect.
And your whole career has been spent in HR?
It has, yeah. The last 18 years I've been a chief human resources officer, but I spent a couple of years in banking in my very early career, and then I moved into the staffing services industry and worked for that industry for 25 years.
In a place like this, everywhere you look is just the most beautiful craftsmanship and...
Well, it's art right in front of us, everywhere we look in this building.
Yes.
It's incredible.
It is.
I really don't have the history of where my grandfather's work is, but I know that when he came here, he was a plasterer, and so he worked in many of these wonderful buildings.
Wow.
Creating some of the work we see. I just never know whether it's his hand that was at work or not. Yeah. So there's a piece of me that connects to that too, and I'm really proud of that.
For me, I've always felt like HR is sort of the guiding light of an organization, right? Somebody that you turn to for guidance and for support. So I would imagine you've probably learned a lot of really interesting lessons along the way in your career and at Henry Ford Health. I'm just interested in some of those lessons that you've learned that have really stuck with you over the years. It's
a field to work in for which there are lots of opportunities to learn great lessons. And the one thing I will say is that the road to here is never straight. There are always challenges, and how important it is to choose emotions that are positive in every way possible. Things like love and joy, hope, gratitude. It's made a huge difference in my life to have people really encourage me to go well beyond anything I ever imagined. So whatever vision you might have for your life, there are better ideas. There are ways in which to live into a better version of yourself. So you want people who are going to help you see life through a different lens, but also be willing to speak truth to you and make recommendations that you might have never imagined. And I really encourage that for others because it'll challenge you to seek ways that go beyond your own imagination. That's been a huge learning.
This is part of your rich, library of memories growing up in the city of Detroit. I'm interested in how important it is for you to work for an organization with also such a rich history in this beautiful city.
Yeah, it means so much.
Yeah.
Henry Ford has been such a contributor to the lives of the people in this community in so many ways. And the patients we treat, our HAP members, their family lives, the community, it makes me really proud to be part of Henry Ford.
Yeah.
And in this rich city, it's a phenomenal city, and one, to which I feel a real kindred spirit. It's been a city that's been really good to us as a family.
Well, and I think a building like this reminds us of how rich the history has been and where it's going, right? This is a city with so much in the future and on the horizon.
Really evolving.
Yeah, it's a great place. This is the Women in Leadership series, and I would be remiss. I'm asking all of our amazing women leaders what you would tell the 12-year-old girl who is reading the classifieds every Sunday. What would you tell the college student, the environmental services team member about ways that they can do the most with their lives and live their lives and jobs and families to the fullest? What would you say to them?
Well, I would encourage them to really explore what gives them joy, what they're curious about. I came into the world a really curious learner, so I encourage others to be curious. And I would encourage them to do that same thing. And then to talk to people who might be doing things like what they're curious about. Lastly, and really importantly, to know who you are, to know the difference you want to make in life, the purpose you serve, and look for ways in which you can find that in the work that you do, because it'll not only bring joy to you the rest of your life, you will be a joy maker for others.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much, Nina. This has been truly a privilege and a wonderful conversation. Nina Ramsey, our Executive Vice President and Chief Human Resources Officer, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. It's been a privilege.
Thank you.
Thank you.